Fucking live. Good morning, everybody. It's uh, it's a little hazy from the dust cloud this morning, coming at you about almost 6 a.m. right now. I can tell there's stuff in the air because I'm a little congested and a little hoarse, kind of hoarse, little raspy voice. But it's micro particles. It's not like dust when you go out on a dirt road or something. Not thick, heavy, big particles of dust. It's real micro, fine dust, and it's spread real evenly out throughout the atmosphere here. Uh, Something we don't see here in North America like they do over there in Africa and the Middle East. But Arizona and sees it. New Mexico sees it sometimes, but not here. Anyway, getting to the news. The Chaz zone, the Chop zone in Seattle is collapsing. Everybody's packing their bags and going home because well, they ran out of resources. They ran out of food, and they lost all their. When people's stomachs go hungry, they lose all inspiration to do anything else. And I was saying that. How are they going to get food when everything's cut off to the zone? They're just going to pack up and go home. But Trump knew that, and that's why he sat on his ass and didn't do anything with this governor that's liable to get fired or get sued because of, I think there's a class action lawsuit against her that they're going to pull. The business owners that were in the zone, the autonomous zone, are going to sue the mayor and the governor for not doing anything about the looting and the raping and pillaging. But there's only a few hundred people left down there in the zone, and the police might come in and round those few stragglers up just to clean house, so they can get city personnel in there to clean up everything and get things back to normal and running in this grand opening of the nation after the lockdown. Now there's talk of another lockdown, but I seriously don't think people are going to let that happen. We started seeing the protests spark up from the lockdown and from people wanting to go back to work. That was the start of the unrest, and then you gave them a bone to chew on and a bunch of sugar to get hyped up on with the Floyd murder, and then all hell broke loose. Once the police started stepping back and letting them do their thing, all chaos ensued with these 20 and 30-year-old children. They're still children in my eyes because they were coddled as they grew up so much and were brought up with so much intolerance for tolerance is what I like to call it. Intolerance for tolerance. And these are the people that are allowing the cross-dressing in the schools, the training, story time hour, or drag queen story time hour in the schools and the libraries. I don't see anything wrong personally. If you want to cross-dress or be a trans, that's fine. Do it, but don't involve people under the age of 18 that aren't adults yet and don't have any comprehension of what's normal and what's seen as different. So that's what we're getting with this generation is this the lines are strewn, the lines are fuzzy as to what's right and what's wrong, and they tend to do the wrong thing, the wrong think, and it consequently burned down a bunch of cities because of it. Burned down the economic zones and commercial zones in some of these larger cities. And the Washington Post put out a tweet fact checking Trump when Trump said that all of the cities were Democrat run that had the high crime rates and the looting and the pillaging. And they put out a tweet and then they retracted it and deleted it. And somebody got a screenshot of it and had it posted. It's all over Twitter. But the top 20 cities are, top 19 out of 21 cities are Democratic run, except for St. Louis, which is run by an independent uh, uh, mayor, and Jacksonville, Florida, which is a Republican mayor, and they rank in the top 20 the crime rate. So, you know, problem with crime is a Democratic problem, just like the KKK was a Democratic problem. It was started by Democrats, and the Democratic Party of the past of the public isn't the Democratic Party in private. You know, it's what I mean by that is it's changed over the years, and now you've got extreme far left people, liberal maniacs that just want to throw all laws and morals and ethics out the window and live in this anarchist uh, cookbook land where criminals are walking the streets and little boys and girls are traded around with from the adult pedophiles and you got places like the like Pizzagate and stuff like that going on, and that opens the door for once children normalize sex, then the sex trade is normalized, and then the organ trade is normalized. So you got organ harvesting and sex trafficking, and drugs follow right along behind all of that stuff. You know, the adrenochrome stuff. So I mean, we're going to work through this phase in society, I believe, and get back on track and focus our attention to space where it needs to be, because there was a magnetic anomaly on the 23rd that was picked up by all the magnetograms on the planet, and what happened was the geomagnetic field was pretty stable and weak, is really weak right now, and we weren't getting any solar activity or cosmic ray activity to induce the geomagnetic field or the electron count or anything. And what happened was called a continuous pulsation, a CP, um, and of the electric field of the geomagnetic field of the Earth, and it caused a sine wave in the monitors, in the readings, for about 3 hours or so. And it's a real rare occurrence, and it's kind of like an eddy in the water or something. A disturbance that really has no uh, cause or point of origin. It's just a reverberation of built up energy or lack thereof. In this case, lack thereof, where the Earth was, to me, this means that the Earth, a continuous pulsation of the geomagnetic field, means the Earth was putting out more energy and electricity and radiation than what was coming into it, and that created that sine wave, that measurable frequency that was in harmony, you know. And we've been seeing a lot of pulses from the Schumann resonance lately that have been rhythmic, and then we've been getting rhythmic pulses of fast radio bursts from a couple uh, points in the galaxy and other far away places in other galaxies. Fast radio bursts in rhythmic pulsations that are timed, and it's been going on for several years now. They're just now getting all the data together and realizing that these are timed pulses, these are rhythmic pulses, and could be from a civilization trying to communicate, or something to that effect. So, you know, we might have disclosure on that pretty soon once they figure out how to slow the information down in the radio waves, or enhance it so that there's information gleaned from it, or can be translated out of it somehow, some way, and communication can be set up, or communication can be seen in the fast radio bursts. Somebody's going to somebody's going to create a way to decipher that uh, energy communication for the fast radio bursts. So unless we don't have the elements, the minerals and metals here on Earth to make a machine that would do it, you know. And so they just made a fifth state of matter on the ISS space station, and so it can only be done in zero gravity and in 0 degree temperatures, you know, below zero, absolute zero. And they made a fifth state of matter. What that means exactly, you know, I don't know. It's real metaphysical. It's kind of a matter that exists here and in another dimension at the same time. It's kind of like monatomic elements that David Pukta, that I've talked about in my other videos and left links to his channel and what he was doing with electrolysis, making monatomic elements out of seawater and linear electromagnetism. It's not AC, it's not DC, it's linear electricity that he created from Tesla's research, and he's the only one in the world that I believe, unless it's secret government military stuff, but he's the only one in the world that's been able to do it. He's got it patented and copyrighted, and he was able to make a frequency that pervades radio and microwave transmissions, and can be picked up by radio and microwave receivers. He shorted out the there in San Diego County one year, shorted out the electrical grid and overpowered the electrical grid with only a small generator that was making this signal, this frequency, and fucking he's made it rain and all kinds of shit with it. But true, that's true free energy, man. Because once you put a little bit of power in, and he made a way of getting an exponential amount of power out of just a little bit of energy and renewable energy that gets put in too. So it's like you start out with something and you never have to re you never have to refuel except for putting salt water in the tank. You know. So let me light my cigarette here. So what this means is, we're getting closer. We're getting closer to a polar flip, a polar excursion is what's going on right now. Is the poles? There's two North Poles and and the South Pole, and one North Pole's moving towards Siberia, and the other one's in Canada, and the South Pole's moving towards the Indian Ocean. And once they get within, I believe, 30 or 40 degrees of each other, then the poles will most likely flip, or supposedly will flip. So, who knows? Who knows? Because they're traveling real fast right now. They sped up over the past several months and past several years. They've sped up significantly, and so this polar excursion is causing the climate change and the animal behavior to be that as it may, with animals migrating and disappearance of species and stuff like that. So this locust swarm, the locust swarm in the Middle East and in India and China is one example of the polar wander affecting the climate to where species overpopulates. The locust swarms are 8,000 times larger than the yearly normal locust swarm. So we have that, and famine is coming because we're not going to be able to grow in the same places, grow food in the same places that we were able to before. You know, and so a global famine, a food shortage, was coming down the pipes before this COVID thing even did anything to the production lines and caused a manufactured shortage of food, which only did it enough to cause price increases. I mean, there's not really too bad of a shortage of food, but you can tell it when you go to the grocery store. You could tell there's a food shortage because the prices went up significantly. I mean, we were paying $10 for a package of hamburger meat. Now it's almost $20, $19 for the same package. And so, nobody buys it. They switch to alternative forms of protein. Not everybody, but the sensible people that don't have the money to buy it have to. So we're getting closer to a polar flip, a polar wander is going on, and who knows what's to happen. We didn't have history or civilization the last time the poles flipped or wandered off like they are now. So, with our weakened electromagnet magnetosphere, we got increased cosmic rays, which are mutating our DNA, and the New Agers are calling it DNA upgrades and energy portals opening and stuff like that. With that's their word for star alignments and planetary alignments is the magnetic portals are opening and stuff like that. So it's letting in all these multidimensional energies and timeline effects and entities from other dimensions to flood into our reality, flood into our 3D world, because we have yet to ascend to 5D. I mean, that's going to be a genetic leap, you know. That's going to mean that our brains are going to have to, like whales' brains, uh, be 60% operational, at least. And right now, what is it? Only 10 to 15% operational brain capacity we have. Conscious, being able to consciously use 10% of our brain power. So 5D would be what, 30%, and then you go up higher levels of dimensions. You open up more percentage of your brain to be able to perceive these these frequencies in the light spectrum uh, of energy, that we weren't able to perceive before. We need technology. We need machines to perceive that. And some of these machines can't be built because, like I said, we just started making a fifth dimensional matter. Uh, so once we have machines that are made with a fifth dimensional matter, with new elements that are able to pick up these trans-dimensional energies and frequencies that are beyond the spectrum of light and electricity, because there is energy beyond that. We just can't perceive it with any measurable tool that we know to date. So the ancient aliens and stuff had these tools, and were able to have little instruments that carved rock and levitated stone and moved things from place to place, and you know and have flying machines and spacecraft, and I do believe there's a civilization underneath the Antarctic ice sheet, like Florida Marquis says he believes in. But there's possibly 2 or 3 different alien races that live under the surface of the earth and the oceans here, that just don't want anything to do with humans, or have so much control over us that they don't need to show themselves to us. Their technology is high enough to be able to hide from us, you know, and and stuff like that. So anyway, the sun's coming up. It's a really nice uh, orange, orangish red sunrise this morning. The whole sky was lit up real early from it. 'Cause I was up pretty early this morning. Couldn't sleep. Been having problems sleeping. But I feel good, I still feel good. I'm not tired or anything. It's just a different energy. A different energy field is affecting us, and we are ascending slowly. I mean, we're not going to just one day wake up and be in 5D and our genetics are changed. It's going to take a millennium or so to evolve into a new form of society, and that'll come along with genetic changes and changes of mindsets and perception and realities, and the way we interact with the planet, you know, uh, going back to a more uh, hunter-gatherer type of relationship with the earth, instead of an agricultural dependence on it. We have to start growing our food indoors to keep it out of the elements, because the elements destroy our food crop because of climate change. So I mean, big changes have to happen in our food production, or there are going to be millions of starved to death, and people need to focus their attention on these problems, and especially the problem of getting off world to another place in the universe, in the galaxy, to reside our species, because the sun's going to go nova in the next 300 years, is what all the charts are showing. Historically, we're in just in time for a nova event, a micronova or a super flare, or a super flare is likely within the next 30 years. A micronova is likely within the next 200 years, and a nova, supernova, is is uh, is almost guaranteed in the next 360 years. So we have that long to be able to figure out a way to get off planet, get off world, and or at least get to the outer reaches of this solar system, you know, move the earth or some shit, you know. We're going to have to seed another planet somewhere to ensure our species survives. And then we'll have to evolve and adapt to that environment, and we'll probably come out being a whole different species of organism at the end of it, but at least our consciousness will pervade and survive, and our history will be preserved. You know, things will remember what we did here, especially the bad things. That's what these people tearing the statues down are trying to erase, all the all the all the bad negativity that is represented by the statues. And these statues don't represent bad negative things, they represent history. Man, that's what happened. We need to recognize that, or we're doomed to repeat history. If we don't have the things reminding us that certain events happened and certain people were responsible, that had a certain mindset, that mindset is bound to return, and these things are bound to happen again, even worse than what happened before, and for a longer period of time, you know. So anyway, folks, we're jumping headlong into a new reality, uh, for sure. And if you haven't felt it by now, I don't know where you've been, locked in your house probably for the past 4 months. But if you go out, you see everybody wearing masks, and just this compliance, this unquestionable compliance to our government stuff that a lot of people have. Here in my area, you go to Walmart, half the people have masks on, half of them don't. You know, it's about it's about 60-40, about people that have masks and people that don't. But it's a choice here, We're not making a standardized law that you have to have a mask on. Even the employers aren't making everybody wear masks. Not every place of business is making their employees wear masks, except for the food industry. Most of damn near all of them have masks on, I believe, except for some of the food trucks. And people that have asthma can't fucking wear masks and shit. They'll asphyxiate and get hypoxia and get brain damage and die. There's kids in China running around playing and have died from having a mask on because they were inhaling so much carbon dioxide. But it goes against OSHA standards to even wear a mask while you're working, because it's unsafe oxygen levels. So there was a test. This guy did with a tester, and it's only with a mask on, he was only reading 18% oxygen level, and without a mask, it was like 21% oxygen level. And the OSHA standard is 19% oxygen level in a workplace. You know, so you either have to have a respirator on, a proper ventilation respirator that allows for the exhalation of carbon dioxide out of the mask, or don't wear a mask at all, is my opinion, because these cloth and paper masks just hold the carbon dioxide in. They don't filter out particulates, small molecule size particulates, which are virus size and bacteria size particles in the air. If something's airborne, it's going to get through your mask. It's going to come through the sides of your mask, and anyway, it's going to get in your ears and your eyes. And COVID is most likely transmitted by touching something and then rubbing your face. Most likely. I don't think it's airborne, or would have traveled a lot faster than what it did. I mean, it's airborne if somebody sneezes on you, yeah, but I mean, it's not surviving in air and has its own means of propulsion through the atmosphere. So, you know, um, anyway, folks, I'm getting past 30 minutes here. I better shut her down and upload this video. But yeah, the Chaz zone has broken down, and people are going home, just like Trump had hoped. I think he knew, was being told that would happen. These people are getting tired of not eating properly and sleeping next to piles of shit, of feces and piss and stuff, and so they're packing their shit and going home, and you know, probably fearing for their lives of public safety down there, because there's no police and there. People are getting beat up and raped and all sorts of things. Druggies running around trying to force you to buy their shit, get beat up or something, you know. So anyway, it's Seattle. It's fucking Seattle, man. It's a crazy town. All these big cities are fucking crazy towns, man. It's normal utopia here in Rogers, Arkansas, man. I tell you what, I love it here. I don't think I'll ever move, but if I do, it'll be out to the desert or to Colorado. You know, not on the coastlines. I wouldn't move to the coastlines, but I'd move somewhere like the mountains of Oregon, outside the city, or to the foothills of Colorado, or the high desert of Arizona. I'm not so much of a low desert guy. I'm more of a high desert guy. I like trees and stuff. So anyway, you guys have an excellent morning. Here's the sun. Here's the sun coming up one more time. It's not getting too high up in the sky yet, but you can see the striations in the upper atmosphere there with the dust waves. It does smell a little dusty out here, musty, dusty smell. And there is a slight film. There's a slight film on the cars, but not too bad. Not what I thought it would be. It's not bad. But you know, the microparticles are bad for people with pre-existing conditions and asthma. So wear a mask if you go outside and you have to work outside mowing the yard or something, if you're down the south and in this dust cloud, just to be safe. You never know what kind of organisms are attached to these dust particles. So you know, we could see a new virus or some sort of SARS come out of it. But you guys have an excellent morning. The rest of the day, I'll come back at you with more news as it comes in. And peace out, motherfuckers. Mr. Mission Control's out of here.